Hey, welcome back to Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny. And man, for those of you who've been on this channel for a while, you may know we're big Alibaba bulls. It makes a significant portion of both Dylan and I's portfolio. But it was a big week for Alibaba stock with news, some pretty wild stock movement. We're going to talk about what happened.
Yeah, if you like this kind of entertaining stock market content where it's two stupid guys trying to figure everything out, give us a like and subscribe, and we'll get started.
Two stupid guys trade stocks.
The relief was so nice.
Yeah, felt a little bit better. Helped offset a little bit of your Fubo losses, just a little bit.
I'm not even close. That stock's dead to me.
I know, right? Hey, you never know. But Charlie Munger, big Alibaba shareholder here as well. That's why we threw him up here. But this kind of background picture right here is actually from Bloomberg, and this shows you just how wild the fluctuations were regarding the news this week. It was all like news driven. That's what made this whole thing happen. This is another representation. This is a 5-day chart, big gap up, and then actually, unfortunately, came back down here and kind of like evened out. But
Yeah.
the big thing we look at when we look at longer term charts is, did this break us out of a trend? Maybe. I know some people argue that if it had the gap to break it, it doesn't really count. But my eyes still count somewhat.
It absolutely counts for those people arguing that because it's also trading like 20 hours a day. So gap absolutely matters.
That is true. It is very unique stock, and then it's traded in 3 different exchanges. So this was the Reuters article that really kind of started this whole thing off here. Exclusive, unnamed confidential sources within the CSRC, which is like the Chinese SEC, saying that they might be going ahead with this Ant IPO. For those of you who don't remember, Ant is a subsidiary. It was a business that's about 33% owned by Alibaba. That is like the equivalent to their payment processing fintech, arm of the whole Alibaba group. Somewhat think of like a PayPal, kind of transaction with eBay. Yeah, the way they were built originally when they actually transacted all the stuff on the Alibaba platform. Same idea, but like I said, it's still no.
It's been about time.
Yeah. The interesting thing with this whole like Alibaba Ant Group ownership too is the valuations have been all over the map. So if you remember all the way back to 2020 when like the Chinese Communist Party was really starting to turn their tide against this major finance and tech stock in China, they actually had Ant Group on its own valued at almost 315 billion was the planned valuation for the IPO. Now, do a lot of people agree with that number? No. You look at a lot of companies that own like ownership in Ant Group, and the valuations at the time were in the mid $200 billion range. Meaning that Alibaba's share would have been around what's that, about 120 billion, something like that.
Yeah, 315 billion is more than Baba's market cap alone. That's pretty high.
Yeah, it's a significant number for sure. At least they only own about a third of it, 33%. But the valuations have come down significantly over time in Ant Group now that it's been questionable whether or not it could go public. So this is actually from, I think this was Fidelity. They had the valuation, Fidelity Investments all the way down to about 78 billion as of kind of the most recent number I could find. They had at a height of 235 billion when it was ready to make that IPO, or rumored to be making that IPO. This is their number.
Okay.
So, lost a lot of value. Yeah.
That hurts. That's a lot.
big difference. I mean, you've seen it in Alibaba's earnings reports too. That's why they've had to like write down their profits over the last couple of quarters because of like the decrease in valuation for their ownership stakes.
Right.
Yeah. And this is kind of the flip side. When we saw that, kind of gap back down, was that it dropped about 8%, saying that there is no such discussions going on. That's CSRC. This is like I said, once again, the Chinese SEC basically came out and said that they have not conducted any sort of evaluation here of Ant Group's feasibility for an IPO.
But more importantly, when the news happened, it gapped up so much, and then this happened, and it didn't correct near as much as it gapped. Not even close.
True.
We'll show you that.
Yeah, that is indeed very true. One of the things I think that's kind of interesting here. So, I am not a chartist, but this is a 1-year time chart of Alibaba here. So I drew this purple line, just kind of representing the overall trend line, and it does look like we just broke out above that trend line by my eye here, with this most recent gap up, and then once again we did come back down, but we didn't come back down to below that line, and we're also now above this 100-day moving average. With the next kind of moving average would be running into this 125-ish price range, which is the 200-day moving average.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time since we've been above an average.
Yeah, above an average is impressive for Alibaba for sure. I mean, could we see a golden cross? Who knows, man? Well, we did that video and showed it doesn't really matter. But
don't even get me started on that. The last time we were above an average was 11 months ago.
Yeah, that's
big day.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, and just to highlight, the market has not been so friendly of late, but over the last week, it's still up 10% for Alibaba, even after the retracement on Friday, up 34% in the last month, very impressive, and only down 8.76% in the last year to date, basically, despite the fact that you're looking at the triple Qs being down about 20% and SPY being down about 15% year to date so far. So Chinese stock is outperforming this year.
That's the first time that's happened in quite a bit. In addition to that, there was also another big China bump, and it was basically regulators kind of easing up because PDD, NEO, Billy, JD were also all up, none of which would be affected by the Ant Group thing. So
true. 2 for 1. Yeah, that DD moved up like 50% in one day.
Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Yeah, you want to show us their actual chart for the Alibaba? I'm just kind of curious. We were seeing as far as support resistance, because I almost got kind of stuck in a trap here. So as you guys may know that follow the channel, I like to do covered calls, and I currently have a 617, 115 covered call on Alibaba, my underlying shares, which quickly became in the money, this massive move, and then retracement kind of brought me back out of the money. So I only have a week left to expiry, but I'm looking at where I should roll it to, because I would like to have another resistance line between me and it. I'm thinking 125 maybe might be the resistance line based upon that 200-day moving average, but I'm curious what Dylan's thoughts are.
So I'm going to say that's very safe because on top of that, at 127, you have a very, very large support that was butted up against multiple times. Next one's 138, as we've seen before. Stocks don't generally just cruise through a 200 moving average. That's this line right here. Usually it needs a lot of conviction, a lot of jumps through it. But just to show you something here, you know how we gapped up? Like, look at this big, sexy bar here, right? Sexy bar. We gapped kind of down a little bit, came down, right? Gapped up, came down, but we're holding this 1.9 level. So that is very comforting, if you will.
Yeah. Interesting. I might have to think about selling some put credit spread at 109 then, or something like that, to make a little bit of money on that side too.
That would be risky because we've been here for 3 days.
I know. I'm just thinking I like it when the charts follow patterns. You know what I'm saying? As far as showing you definitive kind of lines where it seems to want to hang out. But that's just my thought.
Right. And if anyone heard Vinny's dog barking, he also, his first buy was BABA, so he's having a great time. Vinny opened a brokerage account for him. So he's very excited.
Yeah, I also claim as a dependent on my taxes. See that video come up.
Smart. How 2 stupid guys go to prison. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Anything else?
Yeah. No, let's catch you on the next one.
All right, later.